My name's Andy Palmer, or as Mike Stonebreaker likes to call me, Cue Ball. And I'm the CEO of Tamer and serving as a track co-producer alongside JP Chauvet for Virtual Track 6, the CDOIQ toolkit. It's my pleasure to introduce the next session, Building the Data Foundation for a Connected Customer Experience. In this session, you'll hear from one of our great Tamer customers on how they're delivering a consistent multi-channel customer experience. We'll learn how P360 is prioritizing their investments to deliver immediate ROI while building the foundation that scales for their data infrastructure. And before I hand things over to our speakers, I have a few housekeeping items. First, this session's being recorded. Any presentations will be included in the symposium proceedings. Video recordings will be uploaded to the CDOIQ YouTube channel 3 months after the symposium. And there will be a Q&A session at the end. And so please submit your questions via the Whova app in the Q&A tab. With that, I'm going to turn over to my great friend and trusted colleague, Matt Holzapfel, who runs all of corporate strategy and good things at Tamer. Matt, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. And thank you, everyone, for joining at the end of the day here. Super excited to be walking you through the journey that we've been able to go on with P360 and hear from Anupam about some of the challenges that they faced in helping their customers establish the data foundation needed for a connected customer experience. And so as Andy mentioned, I'm head of corporate strategy at Tamer, and I'm joined by Anupam Nandwana. Anupam, do you want to say just a couple of things about yourself as an introduction?
Thanks, Matt. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Anupam Nandwana. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of P360. We are a specialized solution and data provider for life sciences industry. My professional experience includes over 23 years of life sciences commercial business management, and I'm looking forward to this chat. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, thank you. And one of the things I'm particularly excited to get into is, as Anupam mentioned, they're focused on life sciences and helping customers within life sciences create a better customer experience. And we'll talk about some of the challenges that are associated with that. But life sciences certainly has some of the most complexity as it pertains to serving customers. And so we'll tee up the problem statement and then spend the majority of the time just hearing from Anupam on how they've helped customers and some of the tips they have for folks in the audience who are looking to take a similar journey. And so why are we talking about this? We've been talking about multi-channel customer experiences for a long time. Earlier in my career, when I worked at Dell, this term started to kind of become popular. And at Dell, for example, we had a presentation from an extremely large technology vendor, and everything that they were presenting to us was around, here's how you build a better multi-channel experience. And we were asking, like, why is everything that you're telling us about multi-channel experience? And they said, well, what we heard from your executive team is basically anything in this area we're going to invest in and get behind. And so this is an area that a lot of companies have been kind of going on this journey and putting a lot of money into for a while. And so before we get into the content, we wanted to just start with a poll question. Knowing that this has been an area of investment for quite some time for so many companies, how do you feel your company is doing on this dimension? In particular, how connected do you think your customer experience is today? Ranging from, is this something that's just totally fragmented? You're still in the early stages of your journey and you're joining to learn how you can kind of leapfrog ahead? Or do you feel like this is a solved problem and you're in the audience looking for ways to continue to advance your edge and get ahead? So we'll give you a moment to answer that poll question. And then when those results come in, just share a little commentary on them. So please respond here, and then we will share some thoughts. All right. think the poll is just about closed here. So just kind of anecdotal evidence from what we see in the field with our customers is that typically a lot of customers we're seeing are somewhere in the middle. It looks like the audience though said 100% of the time the customer experience is they feel like completely fragmented. So that's good. We know that the baseline that we're working with are people who are early on in their journey. And I think that the good news and what we've seen kind of more recently with our customers and prospects is that even when they're coming from this place where the customer experience is completely fragmented, they're able to get ahead pretty quickly because right now the business case is incredibly strong. And kind of in particular, if you look at the cost and risk side of the equation, technology has matured to a point, as well as our understanding of what goes into a connected customer experience, such that the risk of doing it and the cost has never been more favorable. You have cheap, abundant compute and storage, thanks to all of the investments made by the cloud providers, the tens of billions of dollars of R&D that they're putting into these areas in order to make it much easier to connect big data sources and do interesting things with them. Also, areas that are key to automation, such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, are mainstream. It's not novel anymore to apply these techniques. There are certainly some more advanced applications of it, and some partners and solutions that have more advanced uses of it. But it's something that people shouldn't be afraid of now. And in particular, a reason for that is because you have great partners like P360 who have helped many firms go down this journey. And so there are proven templates both within technology as well as from providers like P360 that can help you accelerate your journey. And one of the things that we'll be talking about is how P360 has been able to help their clients kind of advance in this area within a matter of weeks or small number of months. This doesn't need to take years, in other words. And of course, we all, I think, as customers, feel like this is an important part of the brands and the companies that we do business with. And there's a lot of data that backs it up, that if you don't have this connected customer experience, it's going to be very difficult to maintain your customer base. And so the kind of motivation for doing something has never been higher. And so where are we trying to get to? What's the end destination? We know we want to do something. And I think one of the things that we see a lot of customers kind of struggle with is they want to go to initially some of the more advanced analytics, the very sophisticated, complicated uses of AI and machine learning in order to do predictive modeling and predict what customers are going to churn or what customers could potentially be my best customers. And I think what we're seeing more and more is that people have kind of come down from those ideas of AI and ML are going to solve everything, and there are these advanced analytics that could solve everything. And now I think the destination is becoming much more clear within our industry, which is let's be able to answer these very basic questions that serve as the foundation for those more advanced questions. And so when companies think in terms of who are my customers, what accounts do I have at each account, what contacts do I have at each account, and what products are they buying, that creates a much more stable foundation for doing the more advanced and more sophisticated activities that we will dig into. And so while the business case is clear, and I think there are a lot of data points that suggest that there isn't a reason anyone shouldn't be on this journey. It can still feel intimidating to go down this path. And so one of the challenges that we'll be talking about within P360's story is just how they thought about overcoming this journey and some of the challenges associated with having hundreds of physical data silos, the dirty data that lives within those, and the fact that the business questions and the business needs can feel like a moving target. And so when you have legacy infrastructure, you have dirty data within it, and then these business questions that are constantly changing, it can make it difficult to kind of stay focused on that previous point of, just understand your customers, because that's how you're going to be able to serve them across channels. And so when it comes to where to get started, which I think is one of the hardest things to get right, there's a question of what approaches do we take, because the number of approaches that are available are seemingly endless. And so this is just a sample of things that we've heard from customers and prospects as they've gone along this journey. And these are the types of things that we'll try to kind of help you think through and sort out a little bit. But I imagine some of these sound very familiar, where you have a data leader that's thinking, if we just clean up all of our legacy systems and migrate to S4 or whatever the kind of latest and greatest ERP is, that'll solve all of our issues. Or if we just fix our data governance processes, all new data will be clean and integrated. All of these are kind of very important initiatives and deliver tremendous value. But the thing that we're kind of focused on here today is, how do you actually stage these investments and think about the trade-offs between them, so that you can realize that ultimate goal of delivering value to the end customers and being able to serve them in a connected way. And so with that, we'll open it up to one more poll question, and then we will dig into the experience of Anupam and P360 helping customers along this journey. And so the poll question that we'll open it up to is, does your organization have an omni-channel engagement program in place or in the works? Yes, no question for you. And while you're responding to that question, just a kind of quick reminder that if you have questions for us, for Anupam, as he's going through the journey, please add those into the chat, and we'll address those during this conversation. So we'll use this in order to help us baseline just where folks are at, and I think we've seen some feedback already, and it looks like the majority of participants don't have a program in place. And so that's good to know, is that the folks in the audience, which is similar to what we heard in the first poll, are still struggling with how do you get started. And so I think the story from Anupam will be very, very timely. And so with that, I wanted to kind of turn the tables here and spend some time just digging into your experience, Anupam. We're going to be talking about one specific customer of yours that you helped along this journey through an implementation. And so I'll turn it over to you with just the kind of opening question of, why is this so hard in life sciences? And maybe as you're answering this, maybe you can provide just some context and background about the story you'll be sharing.
Thank you, Matt, and the great introduction. Also, the points you made right on spot, right? And it does apply to everybody, but also the life sciences industry. One of the things is, right, they operate very differently than any other, even inside any other industry, or even inside their company, they have different needs for commercial, clinical, manufacturing, and supply chain, rest of corporate IT. So like, if you think about how they operate, it's almost like there's no one size fit all solution. And if you look at just the commercial as an area where P360 worked with Tamer and one of our customers to build this story, and our expertise lies in, it's just so complex and regulatory environment with hundreds of data sources they operate in. It's like mind-boggling. I don't think I impress a lot of people here if I say there are like 3 million prescribers in like my customer master. They'll say, yeah, okay, why is that so challenging? But when you start adding those compounded by what are the HCPs, what are the HCOs, patients, payer, plan, PBM, the GPOs, IDNs, like you start compounding those things, and it quickly becomes really, really complicated. And there are other parameters, right? How are you selling? Are you a standard prescription drug versus a hospital drug? How does your drug get to the patients? How are we, like, do you have a formulary tier status with your PBMs? And if it's a specialty drug, it does, like, do you have a specialized patient enrollment program, and so on and so forth. Like, you get the idea, right? Like, even your sales teams, like, sometimes you could have multiple products which are vastly different from one and the other. You are trying to cover the whole geography. So when you put together all those things, it becomes really complex, and it's a completely data driven organizations. Like, everything runs around data. So not having a solid data infrastructure, it's almost a non-starter. You can't compete with your product or your competitors. So that's what makes it very challenging for life sciences industry. And it's imperative that the data infrastructure stays solid and you build that as your core component.
Yeah, no, it's great. And we appreciate you kind of touching on the problems with all of the unique entities or domains within life sciences. There's a lot of places you could have started and delivered a ton of value, but what was the major data challenge that you identified, or that the customer identified as the one to start with, and that you were brought in to help solve?
Right. So one of these customers we work with, they are going through a classical or digital transformation project. I think everybody has used this word to like extreme, but this is a classic story. They had a legacy infrastructure. They had all fragmented data sources. One of the other thing is they did not have complete ownership of all the data and processes. So put together all, and the problem statement I just talked about a minute ago, it's a very difficult combination if you don't have the ownership of all your infrastructure, and then you don't have like a solid infrastructure in place, not taking full advantage of the cloud advancements. Like, we are in second decade of cloud journey, and most companies are cloud native at this point, or they're close enough, right? So being able to take advantage of all those R&D dollars which has gone is critical. So, and the master data in itself is very important, right? Like, everything which we talked about, we have about 150 data sources coming in from various levels of information sources, whether it's internal, external. Life sciences company do buy large amount of data from external providers, whether it's a prescription history, whether it's a claims data, specialty pharmacy shipments, they could be contracted on behalf of you. So all this data coming in at different variety, velocity, timings, needs one single avenue to enter the company so you can start making your journey. And so what we decided to do is build a solid master data foundation around it. So if we master these customers clearly, it would elevate the pain and would make downstream journey easier. So that's where we started first, and we had a really good success with that.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that I appreciate hearing about that is, I mean, in your role, in the way that you're serving customers, I imagine it's extremely important to show value very quickly. And so, how did you think about, or why prioritize master data when you are on the hook to show value so quickly? A lot of customers, they hold that off to the end or try to punt on that. Why was it different here?
So one thing with P360, we've been delivering the life sciences data infrastructure for companies over the last 15 years or so. And we consider ourselves not only technology expert, but we also bring domain expertise in the business of life sciences commercial data. So we knew early on, looking at that, if we didn't fix this problem, it's just not going to meet the end goal. And we have our pre-built solutions which can be deployed at a rapid pace. And one, along with the other challenges which I put in earlier, one caveat we had from customer, this needed to be start to end in a 6 month, the first cut over. They had some other complications and the legal responsibilities which they needed to make. So now you're talking about this enterprise transformation project, and all this complexity which comes from the technical side make it short time frame. So we looked at that and said, you get one shot at getting this right. If we didn't get that right first time, you don't get to do over. And that's where we focused on making sure we partner with Tamer and look at the solution and how we can quickly provide value to the customer.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And kind of appreciate how much you kind of value and understand the importance of an effective MDM program. And we'd love to just take a quick poll here to see where other folks in the audience feel like their internal customers, their business users stand as it pertains to MDM, and if they understand the importance of an effective MDM program. So we'll open that up and give people a moment to respond. But while folks are responding to that, would love to just continue the conversation here, because you started to discuss it at the end there that you were on this very tight timeline, needed to get results, and needed to have that first part of the implementation done in under 6 months. And so with that in mind, and those other challenges that you had identified that the customer has, 150 plus legacy data sources, I mean, where'd you start when looking for a solution and a company to partner with?
Right. So one of the key criteria was like making customers investment future proof, right? Like the amount of data is growing, amount of processes are increasing. So when we do this transformation project, you need to, in your professional responsibility, you need to support that customer and make it as future proof as possible. Can you predict tomorrow? No, but like at least from what we have on the hand, we should be able to do that. And that requires a strong partnership across all the stakeholders, and that includes partnership between P360 and Tamer, partnership between us and the customer, downstream stakeholders, leadership. So when we looked at the partner, that was our key criteria. Also, as I was talking earlier, like how complex the regulatory and the operational environment is, it's the nuances which go on in building a master data and the data platform model. It's not easy. So you need flexibility, you need ability to change things to meet those needs. And what I take the biggest outcome of our partnership was we were able to do that pretty quickly, and we were able to adapt. Tamer already had a lot of experience in this area. Our expertise lied in it. So both companies worked together to bring that efficiency and required output for the customer. And it's been working well.
That's awesome. And were there any kind of challenges in particular as you were going through that solution review process that you had to overcome? And in particular, I guess I want to drill into this piece on there's the legal scrutiny around life sciences, and Tamer being a machine learning based solution. Were there any challenges that were associated with that, or kind of other things as it pertains to finding?
Yeah, so it's a great question, because one thing, you have your own operational challenges on running business. And like if you look at it, life sciences companies are responsible for reporting all of their spends. Like there's an act called Sunshine Act here in the United States. So every year, all life sciences companies are supposed to report to federal government, and you don't have an opportunity to have a misaligned data there. You are following the strict guidelines, and it has a legal implications. You also have all your promotional laws and requirements, which you have what you can do and cannot do. So not only those are the core components, but it's essential part of how you look at your solutions. I will give you a very simple, basic example. And you've been in doctor's office and you go and ask, I have so-and-so problem. Doctor might say, okay, hey, I have a sample drug. Can you try this and see if it works? Then we'll prescribe you. That doctor, to get that sample, there is a whole lot of data processing happening. Does it have a valid state license? Which state they are living in? If you are in Ohio, you have 2 different licenses. And so if you imagine there are specialty providers who are just giving you the licenses, then you are getting all the information from right places. So making all that connected and having that sales rep in a doctor's office, like with the CRM iPad in her hand, she should be able to click yes and no and be able to execute. So like all those connections are very, very critical in terms of making sure your data platform is operating the way it should.
And just to that point, I mean, that very kind of strong and specific example of a doctor within the office being able to have all that clean and complete data. What would have been some of the other specific benefits that you've seen, and now that you've gone through this 6-month journey and already kind of been able to overcome some of those data silo issues?
So one of the things is customer, they had like a new leadership come in last summer, and they had these aggressive plans and the digital transformation objective, but like this was the core, and they are already starting to implement a full scale AI ML program where you can start identifying which exact prescribers you need to target, where are the patients. There are some drugs in the market, like if you think about it, only have few thousand patients worldwide. So every patient you need, like it's finding a needle in haystack proverbial, right? So having those kind of AI ML program can only run if you have a solid data infrastructure. They are also running another omni-channel engagement program. Like HCPs could be in your office, they could be in a hospital, they can be attending Congress, they can be receiving your ads, promotional email. There are various channels they get engaged with. So bringing all that together and provide them that experience they need to execute is very important. And they're getting benefit of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and we only have a few minutes left, and so people who are for those in the audience who are trying to get to that same goal of being able to start to run some of those advanced analytics and start to actually be able to kind of better predict what how to serve customers. What lessons learned do you have that you'd like to share with the audience, and in particular, knowing that a lot of folks in the audience have kind of raised their hand and said our customer journey is still very fragmented?
I think building the master data at core, it drives a lot of this. Use that, leverage the expertise of technical providers. Like, for example, we are speaking in Cambridge right now, a lot of great biotech companies are around here, and they're building commercial infrastructure as we speak. So companies like Tamer and P360, we have gone through this journey. So leveraging that expertise and pre-built models is really, really critical, because it takes too long to restart that whole thing from scratch. So partner with the right folks.
All right, great. Well, that's a kind of excellent summary and way to end. And so just to wrap, thank everyone for attending, and kind of especially thank Anupam for sharing his insights and his story. And we'll leave you with our contact information if you have additional questions or things you want to follow up on. Either myself or Anupam would be kind of more than happy to share our insights and expertise.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks, everyone. It was a pleasure to be here.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. And great day today at MIT, and looking forward to seeing all of you again tomorrow for more great sessions.